An armed man breached the secure perimeter of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, one of the most heavily guarded private properties in America, triggering an immediate and deadly response from security. Within moments, what started as a shocking intrusion turned into a fatal confrontation, raising urgent questions about how someone managed to get that close in the first place. With layers of protection designed to prevent exactly this kind of breach, the incident has left many wondering, was this a lone, desperate act, or does it expose a deeper vulnerability in the security surrounding high-profile figures? Deadly breach at Mar-a-Lago, armed intruder shot inside Trump's secure zone.
A man has been shot and killed after trying to enter the secure perimeter of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence. Secret Service have been updating the media on what we know so far, and they showed this image. Now, it's hard to see, but what you can make out there is a shotgun, they said, and a man in his 20s, a white man in his 20s, tried to enter Mar-a-Lago. He was carrying a shotgun and a gas canister. Well, the Palm Beach County Sheriff said that they ordered the man to drop both the shotgun and the canister, but he dropped the can and raised the shotgun to a firing position. Let's have a listen.
At 1:30 this morning, the security detail detected that a individual had made his way into the inner perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. A deputy and two Secret Service agents on the detail went to that area to investigate. They confronted a white male that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those two pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the two Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat. He is deceased at the scene. I'll give you a picture of the shotgun and the gas can to have with you. So that's what we know now. Investigation continues. The FBI is the lead investigation agency on this case, and we will be assisting them in whatever manner they would like. And they will be responsible for answering any other questions at an appropriate time.
That's Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw. They're updating the media on what they can share about that ongoing investigation. Well, let's go live to Washington, D.C. and speak to our correspondent there, Simi Jola-Osho. So, Simi, just tell us what more we've heard from the FBI about what's unfolded.
Well, what we know so far is what we heard from Sheriff Bradshaw during that press conference. We know this man was a white man in his 20s. We know he unlawfully entered the secure perimeter at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. It happened around 1:30 local time, which is around 6:30 GMT. We know he had a shotgun and a fuel can. We know agents confronted the man and fired shots. They haven't released any details identifying the man. We know that no officers were injured. We know the president wasn't in Florida at the time. Usually he's there over the weekend, but this time around he's still in Washington. And this has been shocking, but this isn't the first targeted assassination attempt on the president. Not long ago, a man called Ryan Ruth, who was 59, he was sentenced to life in prison for an attempted assassination on the president, also at a Florida golf course. But Secret Service agents caught him on time. They saw him lurking in the bushes. That happened around 2 months after another assassination attempt on the president by Matthew Crooks. You might remember when he fired a few shots at the president at a rally, one of those shots grazing the president's ear, and that proved to be a turning point in the president's presidential campaign. But we don't have more details so far. We just know that the man was shot and killed by agents, and what we can expect is that security at the President's Mar-a-Lago resort will probably be increased after this attempt. We're not sure if the president will be going to Mar-a-Lago this weekend or remaining in Washington. So we're just going to wait and hear if we hear more details and a response from the president and his administration to this attempt.
OK, Simi Jola-Osho, thank you very much for telling us what we know so far on that developing story. Well, let's go now to Daniel Lippman, the Politico newspaper's website, I should say now, White House reporter. Daniel, you've been to Mar-a-Lago on a number of occasions, I'm sure. I've been down there before as well. It's pretty fortified and it's by a busy road. So it does raise questions about how someone could have got close to the perimeter in the first place.
Yeah, especially when President Trump is not there, they decrease the security considerably. And so what we heard from that news conference is that the man who was shot, he entered as an exiting vehicle, was leaving the property. And so they're going to really have to take a full 360-degree view of how to make sure this doesn't happen again, especially when there are protectees at Mar-a-Lago.
Indeed. Was there anything you wanted to reflect on what we've heard so far from the police? I mean, of course, Daniel, it is an active police investigation. We don't know much more about the suspect's identity. But of course, as soon as the alarm was raised, local police also were at the scene as well.
Yeah, so his family apparently reported him missing a few days ago. He's from North Carolina, but we don't know any motive. We don't know if he was a critic of Trump, or was he just someone who is mentally ill and looking for a kind of a target of opportunity. But it does come as political violence has increased in the U.S. A fair amount in recent years. We saw, starting what happened with Steve Scalise, who is a top House Republican who was grievously shot at that baseball field more than a decade ago. We saw Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was attacked at their San Francisco mansion. We saw those two Trump assassination attempts. We saw those Minnesota Democratic politicians who were killed. And so it does seem like the country is in the throes of almost like 1960s again in terms of political assassinations.
Yeah, indeed, Daniel. I remember covering the Steve Scalise assassination attempt, and questions were asked about the security even on something like that because it was a baseball game. But this is a residence where the President of the United States often visits at weekends. So, I mean, the questions around this, especially given that the president survived 2 assassination attempts in the last couple of years, will be really serious ones on the Secret Service again, for example.
Yeah, they have been very stretched thin by the amount of threats that they have to deal with, the number of Trump family members that they are protecting. And so it's sometimes hard to recruit for such a difficult job, and especially one that's become even more dangerous in some respects. And so I'm sure there's going to be congressional hearings about this. And thank goodness Donald Trump was not there, but it also raises the question of who wants to even enter American political office these days when you it's not just negative TV ads anymore, it's people's families getting targeted, their ability to go about their daily lives, even play baseball, that's in question now. And so there's been a reason that we've seen a lot of congressional members travel with security much more. They've increased the budget for the U.S. Capitol Police by tens of millions of dollars as well.
And Daniel, we talked about those 2 assassination attempts on President Trump, the one at the golf course in Florida, and of course the one that we all saw play out on camera in Butler, Pennsylvania. And after those incidents, there were many questions asked in Congress about the Secret Service. What lessons were learned from those hearings, and how can they be used now as questions are asked once again?
Yeah, so I think what they've tried to do is it's almost reminiscent of what happened with not stopping 9/11 in terms of communication between different government agencies, where who was on the making sure that Secret Service are on the right radio frequency as the local police, because sometimes things are caught early by local police, but then not communicated to Secret Service. And so it's a lot of basic security work that, in terms of Butler, Pennsylvania, this was a barn that was right next door. And so it didn't have to take a genius level security expert to figure out, hey, you have to secure that. You have to make sure that people are on that rooftop. And so they have increased the security. But a lot of these people are going to working double shifts. They are around the clock. It's a brutal job, and we've seen even Department of Homeland Security, part of it is shut down. And so there's Secret Service agents, there's questions about their paychecks right now until the government reopens. And so that is also tough for those agents.
Indeed, Daniel. Just one more thought. Of course, we haven't heard from President Trump yet. It's likely we will, I'm sure, in the course of the coming hours. What do you think is likely to be calculations from him? I mean, we heard, after the first two attempts on his life, this is slightly different, of course, but there's going to be a lot of frustration around the Secret Service, I'm sure, from the president, given what he said in the past.
Yeah, he's very thankful to the Secret Service, but he's probably going to thank them again for stopping this threat. But I think it'll be also interesting to see what type of tone he takes once this person's identity is revealed. If this person has said anything anti-Trump, he's going to call them a radical left-wing lunatic. And so that's something that we should expect from him, because that's just kind of how he operates in terms of especially threats to himself. He personalizes everything, and not surprisingly in this case too, but we shall see if this person has writings online, and I'm sure there'll be lots of media profiles of who this shooter was.
Yeah, and just to recap what you said earlier, really, there's been an uptick in political violence targeting both Republicans and Democrats in recent years, hasn't there?
There has, and I think that a lot of it has to do with social media. I think a lot of Americans are very frustrated with their government, and so people who are mentally ill, they don't have a good outlet for dealing with those anger issues. And Trump has talked about political violence, but mostly about violence that affects Republicans. He doesn't acknowledge that it also affects many Democrats as well.
OK, Daniel Lippman, thank you very much for taking us through what we do know on a story which, of course, is still unravelling. That's Daniel Lippman from Politico.